Know when you're awesome.
I'm here. I got my coffee. I'll be good.
Awesome. I should have brought one down. Look what I have, water. Okay, so you're recording? We're ready? Okay.
Mm.
So, Miss Kelly, yay for you. How
Thanks.
exciting. Do you know that you've done the hardest part? In my opinion, I feel like you've done the hardest part, which is deciding and committing and following through. After that, you can do anything you want. And
Thank you.
I made all these notes and like I didn't even know exactly who, like I knew you were coming on here, but then Sherry Lynn messaged me last night and I was like, oh, are there extra people coming? So like I prepared some things, but really I just wanted to have a conversation with you because that's the only way I can offer any kind of value to what you're doing is if I know what you're doing and what you want to do. So tell me all about like your November, your like what happened since I saw you last, and then I'm gonna revert back to my notes and we're just gonna chat and that's what we're gonna do today.
I love it. Thank you.
Good.
Um, so I went full blazes there to like meet that goal. But what I found when after that, because like with December, it was getting so close to Christmas and it's like parties, you're not going to get stuff in time. So I made a decision to not do anymore after a certain point and then just focus on being like in the present with what I was doing with Adopt a Senior. And you inspired me to do a customer appreciation. I had a tea party with cookies and it was really fun. I have like really beautiful china, so I pulled it out and everyone had their own little teacup and gumdrop
Nice.
cookies and shortbread and stuff. And um, so that was really fun. So like there's all these pieces that I'm putting together of
Mm-hmm.
who is me, right? So that was part of December and November. Yeah, and the Adopt a Senior. So that was really busy. Um, and like my numbers, I landed Emerald Star for last quarter because
Oh,
of all of this and because of even the Adopt a Senior too, that really bumped my numbers too.
mm-hmm.
Um, but um, I think what I really learned too was after in that quiet spot when I wasn't in the rhythm, I didn't like it. I didn't like not having the ball going. And right now I'm still trying to get that rebook people booking in the new year. And I'm like, I am a person that I know I need. This is the Lord teaching me about process. I totally know it. And it's not everything is a sprint. And that is
Mm-hmm.
how I know he's trying to teach me right now not to sprint and just like be at a pace, be consistent. And so yesterday I pulled out my day timer and I looked at all the weeks because I'm like in my head, I need to be going now with more parties. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Um, but I looked at it and I thought, if I look at two a week for until the end of February, that's over 12. So I'm still winning. And so
Yes.
I need to like not be so hard on myself. I need to just go at a pace that is not stressful and that's
Yep.
happy. And in our meeting yesterday, we're talking about the 40 customer binder. And I'm like, I need time to work on these things. So I'm going to be nice to myself and work on
Mm-hmm.
foundational things for the next couple of weeks and get my bookings, get it going so that it's stronger when all the bookings start rolling again. So there's that. Um, did I answer things?
You did, yes. Yeah. And you
Okay.
know what? It's not like a test. It's not a quiz.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get a feel for where you were at, how your last quarter looked, and see if there's something I could maybe, poke in to fill in any little gaps to help you out with stuff. Because that's, I mean, essentially what I'd love to do
Mm-hmm.
and maybe what I'm here to do. But I think you do need to give yourself a lot of praise because, I mean, if you look around, you're the only one here.
Yeah.
So you've done amazing things, and I'm so excited for you. And we've chatted a few times, over the last couple of months. So like, I could see this unfolding for you as well.
Mhm.
So that means you would have, new customers, new
Mhm.
people to contact. It's
Mhm.
normal to have, those lulls a couple times in the year, especially right after Christmas. Like we're all just kind of like undecorating and unchristmasing. And I'm the same thing. Like my kids were sick all Christmas, big surprise.
Mhm.
And then I got the flu. Like we're literally just coming out of puking and
Mhm.
laundry. And I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. But then you keep on going, right? So what are you, and there's no right or wrong answer. Please, like
Mhm.
I'm not trying to put any kind of pressure on you. What do you feel like your end game is right now?
Well,
Not
because
forever,
somebody
but like
wise once told me that the key to everything is growing your customer base.
true.
So, like that, just even that has pulled me back in a way that's healthy because that is the strongest focus is growing my customer base and being consistent so
Yes.
that everything else that I want can happen. And I know that I'm called to leadership of director, senior director, and further with NSD. Like I know that that's who I am, that it's just unfolding and I have to trust the process. And so I also know that, okay, foundationally, it is about the customer right now. So that this rhythm of beauty bashes is really the only way I can work in the season of life that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
I I cannot be out there. I physically can't be out there seeing faces in person with our life. And so this is where it's at for me. And then like putting faces in person as they come, but
Mm-hmm.
not my focus. So this is the only way I can really grow right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, nobody relates more than I do on
Yeah,
this,
100. Yeah.
right? I feel like if it wasn't for this avenue, I wouldn't even be in this business right now because it's the only way that I can do things. So you don't have to explain that as if you're doing something like hush hush. Like
No,
it's good that we've
no.
figured out other avenues.
That's why
And
I'm so
you're,
grateful to you
yeah,
because I don't know how I would achieve all the things inside if I didn't have this tool in my toolbox.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's what I'm going to bring you back to now because you figured out, like figuring out the structure and the consistency, how to book. That's like that's your systems, right? Once you have your system in place, you can repeat that forever and a day. That's the part that a lot of people struggle with is the system. So if you have a lull, now you can wake up tomorrow and go, okay, let's get this going again, and you can jump right back in. So this you figured out the hard part, right? This is what I say. This is the beginning where it's like, what do I post and how do I make the group? It's all the little things that hold people back. So now if you're feeling like you're called to leadership, you're supposed to be a director, this is the direction that you're going in. So now you're going to use what you figured out in your systems, your structure, your consistency, and make that work in your favor because you can grow your customers and become a leader at the same time. So when I sat down and went, okay, I'm going to grow my customers, I was pregnant, but I had already been a director for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, right? So that was the part where I decided this is the next part of growing my personal business. So now, what I'm going to suggest to you is when I sat down that day at my kitchen table back in 2019, I think it was, and I made this plan, right, that I was going to do a beauty bash every single week whether it killed me and I was going to do two to make up for them. Like, and that was a part of the pacing and the consistent and not burning myself out. The other part that I did was at the end of every beauty bash, I had this little notebook. It was like this big. I made a list of everybody who purchased. So I would put the hostess name at the top, the date, how much product was sold, the hostess credits, like how much free stuff she got. And so in that list of everybody who bought, let's say there were 10 people, anyone who was a new customer, I put a little mark by her name. So I made sure to go personally invite her to my private customer group. Anybody who I wanted to offer the business to, I highlighted. So that if life got busy, if, you know, whatever, Christmas happens and birthdays and vacations and stuff, I could easily go back and be like, okay, did I talk to all the people I highlighted? And then my unit exploded. That was the year we did Cadillac, we did Top Trip, because it was a very simple focus with a highlighter. There was no like, okay, who was that and who did I talk to? So I think that would be really beneficial to you now that you've done X number of beauty bashes, you've done this amazing seniors program, your customer appreciation. And my mindset was that I'm going to highlight somebody from every beauty bash. Sometimes there was two, sometimes there was three, but somebody got highlighted because I feel like there's no way you can do a whole beauty bash with, I mean, if nobody buys anything, then yeah, you're not going to highlight anyway. But if you if you have like 7 to 10 people who are purchasing, you have new people, you've had conversations, you build connections, there's somebody in there. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I love that. And that's like, I was writing everyone down, and I had taken notes of that from when you said it in October as well.
Okay. Awesome.
And so I probably have to go back and remember who I highlighted, because I
Yep.
know I did highlight people, but yeah,
Yep.
it's been kind of nutty. But I think I forgot that you purposed in 2019 to do one beauty bash a week and do two to make up.
Mm-hmm.
Is so I've been putting it on myself to do two a week.
Mm-hmm.
Do I
Now
need
that
to let up a little?
well, that when I did the queen, I upped the game, right? So this was like 3 years later after I had been consistently doing them. So it's dependent on where your goal is. What do you want to achieve, right? Like I'm not doing that this year because like that's not my goal now. So if that's something that you want to do, and I was very strategic in working out my numbers.
Mhm.
And I love working backwards in terms of like, okay, I want to be queen. That means I want to be selling 13,000 approximately every month. How many appointments do I need to hold in order to sell that much product? So if you decide, and this is just for an example, if you decide, I want to go to seminar as a new director, I have
Mhm.
6 months,
Mhm.
okay, 8 team members for DIQ. Now you work backwards and go, okay, so how many appointments now do I have to hold or have I already held to get me to that first step?
Mhm.
Right. So, like, I mean, doing 2 a week might be what you want to do right now for a few months. Doing one a
Right.
week might be, right? Like, there was one week where I did 8 because I had a baby. So I took a little break, but it was just, I was committed to like looking at the end of the year and going, okay, did it work or did it not work? Right. So you might get to seminar and be like, okay, did it work? Did it not work? And then you can figure out what kind of things you need to tweak or change, or that like, oh, okay, I did everything I wanted to and then some,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
How you feel about that?
No, it matches what is inside. It's good.
Sorry, I had a phone call.
It's all good.
I don't know who that was. I hope it clicked off for good though. Yeah, so I mean, tell me, is there anything, do you have any questions for me? Is there any kind of thing I could offer to you? Would you like to like do little check-ins? I mean, you have Sherry Lynn, so I'm basically just like a cheerleader in the background.
I I don't I think I just want to make sure that I'm absorbing whatever is in you to share. And so that's like the biggest gift to me. And so I'm hearing like because of what um the goal is in my heart for becoming a director, like to be debuting this year, that the amount of work to match the intended outcome that someone else also told, someone mentioned to me before too. the I'm listening. And
You are.
yeah, I think that would indicate like, okay, let's get on the 2 a week train, but I also need to make sure that I've got my foundations set. And so
Mhm.
so I guess like what are for the back office foundations and systems, what do you do?
Be more specific.
So like, do you do the 40 customer binder? What do
I,
you do for
you know
your
what? I don't do any unnecessary work. Let me rephrase that better. I value my time more than anything else on this planet. So when I work and I give all of myself to that work. I schedule everything that I am planning to do. I don't waste any time. That's a better way to say it. I don't waste time doing paperwork. I don't waste time shuffling things. I'm very, very efficient. And that is like, it's taken me a long time to get there. I don't make binders. I don't do clutter. Everything is in my phone, my customer list, my orders. Like I can do everything I need to do no matter where I am. Um, I wasn't always like that. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do, like, I don't even know what the 40 customer binder is, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it isn't effective because sometimes you need that paper structure in front of you. I've done lots of things like that, but I'm at a place where I have everything so systematic. Um, and I don't want to be working 24/7. So the more I can compact and the more efficient I can be, the happier and more peaceful I am and my family is. Which brings me to I meant to bring this up at the beginning. So when we were trying to schedule this Zoom call, you guys caught me at a point where I had made a new decision in my life that I was only scheduling things between the hours of 8:30 and 3 p.m. my time. Because I thought that's a 6 or 7 hour window. Now, this was before Bernice had messaged me, okay? Because, after doing the Queen, like there were quite a few people who were wanting my time, right? To do these Zooms and chats and things like that, which I love doing them. I'm happy to do them. But because I live in Newfoundland, everybody wanted a time that was right when my kids got off the bus, right at daycare pickup, right at supper time, bath time, homework time. So I thought, after I did it a few times, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't inconvenience myself, my family, my kids, because I live in Newfoundland. So like the time zones are more difficult for people. As you know, like Sherry Lynn, you're up at 7 a.m. and like Kelly, you're at 8. I know that that's gross. I know that. Um, However, I was like, I made this commitment to myself and I almost caved, but I was like, no, you got to be true to yourself, because every time I say like, oh, I can't do this anymore, then I'm like, oh, it's like easier for her if I do it this way. So, which goes back to like my back office, my systems. This is the new system that I put in place for myself.
Mm-hmm.
At 3:20, when my son steps off the bus, I'm done. Now, that's not to say there won't be a day where I'm like, well, I need to do this, so I'm going to. But for 95% of the time, that's when I'm done. Now, I might work some in the evenings, I'll answer some messages. But as for scheduling specific things, and that brings me so much peace because the amount of times I've had to say to my husband, like, can you come home a few minutes early? Because there's this call at 5:30, blah, blah, blah. And he would do it and he wouldn't say anything about it. But I'm like, I know that it just creates chaos in my house. Um, so it's just, I'm very much about peace because I've worked in chaos and I don't like it.
I really appreciate what you're saying because I think this is really part of the penny dropping as well because our life is crazy. We have one, it is like doing that juggling act
Yeah.
every day. It's we get up stupid early every day, and my husband, I'm dropping him off at his semi truck for work at 6:30 in the morning, and then I'm coming home and getting ready, getting the kids out the door, and then getting myself ready for work because I also work part-time in a school office. So like time is definitely the thing that I struggle. My biggest battle is time.
Yeah, it's your
And
most
so,
valuable.
and so I am so eager to hear like what your system is so that I can be at peace and keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? Everything that I've shared when I was out there for the fall advance, that's
That's it.
everything. Honestly. Now, I mean, there's probably pieces in there that I'm missing about when I do deliveries and, like little things like that. But for the most part, everything I do is virtual, right? And everything is scheduled through, I use Post My Party. So that's like a lifesaver. And it's very much like Thursdays is when I finish my beauty bashes. That's when I'm booking for the next week. Friday is when I'm either direct shipping or packing up orders. I don't always get them out. I deliver when I can. And then for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's the lip day, the eye day, my favorite things, the skincare day. That's my structure.
Do you have Boulevard on your phone, or like what do you do for all your packing?
I'm really the least qualified person for you to ask this of because I do keep a record of everything, but it's not something I would teach another person to do because it's messy. It's organized for me in my head, and I really do need to get Boulevard. So like, don't follow my system, but I keep it. I do have like everything is like January, the date, and then I have a list of everyone who ordered, what they ordered, how much it cost. So it's all in my phone, so that I have a record of it. But there is a more efficient way to do it. I know that. So I'm not really. Don't listen to me when it comes to that. Listen, Cherry. She's probably got a better tracking system than I do. My friend Carolyn in Halifax, she's like, honestly, like I would die if I had to manage things the way you do. And I'm like, yeah, everybody would. That's why when people ask me, I'm just like, please, next question. But like, do Boulevard. I feel like that is probably your best option in terms of keeping track of everything. And if time is of the essence, then maybe look for someone else who can look after that part for you, because that's on my list of things to do as well.
I have yeah, I'm so behind.
Yeah, and so I get that. Like, tax season is like I mean, nobody likes that, but it's the gross part of the business. So, find someone else if you're able to look after that part. So your focus, especially when you're in that growing phase of getting from now I've figured out, I mean, your bookings are the lifeline. Once you figure out the bookings and the new customers, all the rest of the stuff, you'll figure it out when you have to, because you do have to. But unless you do part one, there's no sense in even talking about part three, four, and five.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, I've had this conversation with some of my consultants too, who are like, well, what about this and what about that? And I'm like, girl, until you're actually doing work, none of that even matters. None of that means anything until you're bringing in money to pay for the other things that you need to, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But you've already done that. Like, you've done the hard part. And trust me when I say consistency is the hard part. And I saw this, I should have saved it to show you today. I thought about this whole process, right? When there was like a picture of, it was like a little stick figure, and he was pushing like a square, like a big, like boulder square. And it was showed him like, down the road pushing, and the corners were wearing off on it. And slowly, right, the square was turning into a circle, and by the end he was like giving it like a karate kick, and the thing was just like blasting down the road. And I thought, that's exactly how this goes.
Yeah.
It feels like, but once you have a few lulls and you do it for a full year, I'm serious, like a full year, so that you can look back and go, okay, this is what happens in this season, this is what I could do here, this is how I could tweak that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll really have yourself going. But keep the consistency going, even if you're like, I don't know when I want to be a director, I don't know when I want to do this. As long as you're being consistent and you're growing your customers, you could wake up tomorrow and go, all right, let's just do this. And you're ready because you have your customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need. That's the foundation you need for all of it.
What's your goal this year?
I want to do triple star this year. That's the thing I haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it from a very peaceful place, because I've done a few like things where, it's peaceful, but it's also like that little bit of stress in the back of your mind where I got to do this, I got to do that. And that's how I felt last year. I always had that, like, I got to do this, I got to do that feeling. And I released that this year, because I'm like, no, I'm feeling really good. And I love working from a place of peace where I don't have an obligation to a specific. I mean, I want to do the triple star, but it's not quite the same as when you're racing after, a number one position. But yeah, that is my goal this year. So, I mean, the quarter sales uh, likely will have done by the end of this month. Um, Unit club, we're on track for a good unit club. Like, I know that they're happening because I'm just working and doing my thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good place to be. Speaking from like a consultant who wants to move into directorship to like 7 or 8 years, when you've kind of done like this. Now I'll probably still do that because that's just a part of life. But I was saying in my customer group the other day, I can't remember the last time I felt so much peace and ease in my life. And it's just such a good place to be when you have your systems figured out and you have a good customer base. And so a week and a half ago, I had one day between people being sick in my house. Okay. So it hit on Christmas like weekend, like the Friday before Christmas Day was on Monday. So we had, a week of him, and then he got better, and I was like, okay. Because normally I do like a Boxing Week customer appreciation thing. And I thought maybe not this year, because it's just hard with the puking and, monitoring the fever and all that stuff. So I thought I'll do it when I get a chance, right? So New Year's Eve, okay, everybody's good. I'm gonna do this. So I want to have this breakfast nook in my like kitchen living room area. And I want it to be like a couch that's also like a bench with a table. Anyway, I've had this picked out since maybe November. And I decide I want it now. I'm done waiting. I need to have it, but I want I want to make the money in like a day to pay for this, right? I'm like, I want to order this tonight. This is like, I get on these like kicks, right? And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to do my New Year's. I called it an inventory blowout, but I still had a nice profit in there. Anyway, so I start this big post, get the hype and all the excitement going. And it starts the next morning, right at 8:30. 1:30 in the morning, Landon wakes up. Mom, I think I'm gonna puke. And I'm like, of course, that's just how this day is gonna go, right? So he starts the puking and all the other stuff that he would kill me if I said it out loud to another woman. And but I started the sale anyway because I had already posted it. And New Year's Eve was like 74 orders in a day.
Wow.
And I was like $50 over exactly what I needed for my table and my couch. I was like, send the order, baby. Right. So like when you get your customers to a certain level, like a couple times a year, you can do these big, I mean, it certainly is, it's a lot of work and it's very overwhelming, but you pace yourself all year. And then a couple times, like you do these big, exciting things, right? When you want to do something this. So like my goals are not all like Mary Kay specific this year. I have like a list of things that I want to buy. So
Yeah.
every few months I'm gonna like kick it into high gear and do a big thing. And that's exciting to me because I'm like, I need to make my space more efficient now that I got my head more efficient. Right. So I wrote down because I've been putting a lot of thought into selling in particular lately, and like what is it that um moves a sale, so to speak, right? Because we all kind of do the same thing, but what specifically is it that really has nothing to do with like who you are as a person, or like how you look or your behavior, because like people are attracted to who you are without even realizing it in some instances. But I'm like, there are other things. So anyway, I made this list of, I called it the power of. So I'm going to read my 10 things to you just in case there might be something that helps you magnify your selling, because it's all about doing it virtually, as you know, for me anyway. Okay, so number one was the power of social media hype. And I don't know if you noticed like the Stanley Cups information that's been going around lately. And that's what they were talking about, the power of social media hype. Like it's a company that's been around forever, but they changed the colors and started marketing to a new demographic. And their sales went from, I don't know, like 70 to 700 million in a year. Like it was something ridiculous. Like don't quote me on that, but it was something like astronomical. And all they did was shift into social media hype and get influencers on board. And I'm like, and I thought, you know what? That's really true, because that I've seen that in my own business when I start sharing about exciting things and my customers get excited and love being on board with that. And number two was the power of gratitude. Um, when someone says thank you to you, don't you want to buy from them again? I know if I buy something and someone doesn't say thank you to me, I'm like, oh, okay. I notice it. I always notice it. So that's one thing I'm very diligent about, is showing how grateful I am. Number three is the power of adding value. And I think I talked about this um, at the retreat. So I won't go through all those little things again. Number four was the power of scheduling, especially when you know after you do this for a while that, okay, we're coming into a lull in January. Summer break is coming. We're coming into a lull. If you want to power through those seasons, you book it in advance. Scheduling, it just, it changed everything for me, because then I would rather die than cancel or back out of something I have scheduled. Number five was the power of deciding. And you already know about that because you just did that. And now you're here and there's so much more coming for you. Number six was the power of education, because I know women love to purchase from someone who knows what they're talking about, or aspires to know what they're talking about, or can say, I'm going to check this for you. I know where to find this information, or let me look that up. The power of education is huge. Number seven was the power of vulnerability. This is a tough one because it's difficult to put yourself out there, especially, if you have that big goal and you feel like sharing it will make or break you. It'll make you. something good will come out of that, even though it is scary. Number 8 is the power of attaching feeling, because emotion determines the value of your product.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to try to talk a bit slow. I don't want to talk at you today either, because there's only 3 of us here. So like, just jump in if you're like, okay, that's enough now.
Emotion determines
the value of a product. Because you know yourself, you can buy a shirt anywhere, you can buy lipstick anywhere. It's the storytelling, it's the brand, it's what you attach to it, which goes back to the value of product as well. And then the power of connection, which is building those relationships, that's going to really come into play when you move into a higher level of recruiting and team building and moving up to directorship. And then number 10 is the power of storytelling, because people love to get to know you and feel like they're actually making a difference in someone's life when they buy something from you, which also goes back to the adding value. And that's everything I prepared for today. But if you have anything you want to ask me, I'm game. If you think of something later today and you want to message me and be like, okay, tell me about that again, or what did you mean by that? Anytime.
Thank you. Honestly, I'm so grateful. Like when Mary Kay Ash says the hit your wagon to a star thing, I didn't understand it until this, because this is what it means.
You know, Kelly, this is very new to me, just so you know. And hearing you say that, I think like, who's she talking about? Like, what's happening? And you don't really realize like that is happening when you're doing these things from, your own goals, and it's a new experience for me too. So I'm glad that I can offer something to you, because most days I'm just like little old me out here doing my little old thing,
Yeah. Have you put the crown on and vacuumed yet, or?
No, but I've laughed about it a few times. I've thought about it more, like cleaning the toilet when I was like in puke season there in Christmas.
I need to see that video when you do it. Like
I'm gonna have to do it someday, just for you, just for a good laugh, right? Yeah.
Look at me
go. Right? Like, look at me, Queen Bee over here. Yeah. And once you do all the things, you make all these goals and you do them, you don't really feel that different. Like, you're not like this new person. So like, I feel like I've always worked like this, even though I haven't. So the work changed, but I didn't. So like, I'm really glad that I can add something and you feel like that, because I feel special when you say that. It feels good when you say that, because I'm like, who is she talking about? But anytime, really, just message me, because in 5 years from now, you might look back on this and be like, oh my God, remember that chat we had when I was like, oh my God, and you were like, oh my God. Right?
Yeah, when we're on top director trips together.
Right. When we're on trips and we're like, oh my God, how funny were we back then, right?
Yeah, look at us.
Yeah, look at us, right? So, do you have anything you want to add, Sherry Lynn?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I can picture you in your pink Cadillac, put your crown on and go through the McDonald's drive-through or the Tim Hortons or Starbucks drive-through. But put your crown on while you're driving.
I dare you.
I mean, in my town, this is a small town, right? It would be I don't even know what reaction I would get, but it would be something. And most of the time when they see me, it's like, big fluffy mom bun, and I'm running out the door with kids. And it's amazing that I've managed to get to where I am, because sometimes I'm like, people must be like, she sells makeup. Like, no, there's no way.
Well, I do have a couple questions I want to throw in there. One is when you do your lives, Sarah, do you schedule your lives, or do you just come on when you feel like it, because life can be kind of crazy? So do you have a specific time, or just whenever you want?
Mostly whenever I want, like 95%. Yep. I'll just be like, okay, I got time. I'll do it now.
Awesome. Thank you. And then your hostess, you had mentioned before, you like them to invite like 100 people. Do
Yeah.
you find most of them invite 100 people, or what's your kind of average of what kind of gets invited and actually joins the groups?
They always invite 100 when I ask. Some people will invite like, 20 or 30 and think like, oh, perfect. And then I'll go back in and be like, hey, can you just like whip through your list again? And let's see if we can get it up to 100. And they always do it. Normally, like I would say it's a really high percentage. When they do that, there'll be a third that will join and a third that will order. And just to like, for example, I am finishing a beauty bash today, and I feel like I should have rescheduled this for me, but like when I have something scheduled, like I honestly would rather die than reschedule. That's just, I don't know why I have that personality trait, even though sometimes I know I should. But we were just coming off of everybody being sick. I had booked this during a time when everybody was all good because I wanted to get right back at it after Christmas, right? So I had it scheduled to start Sunday past, and I just didn't have the time to put into, I had to update my template because I still had like some products from before Christmas that were no longer available and stuff. So I'm like, I can't just attach this template. So I've been manually punching it in, which is horrible. And I didn't go in to tell her, make sure you invite 100 people. And she's such a nice lady. She's a repair customer. She's a relatively new customer. She's all excited for her beauty bash. And I fell down on the hostess coaching. And right now there's like 9 people in there, right, who've joined. Now, this is all my fault, right? Because I didn't do my steps. I skipped steps, and this is what happens, right? So lesson to me. And it ends tonight. And I'm going to go in there tonight and see if I can revive this thing because there are a couple people who have commented. So I will go in and connect with them. But yeah, so I'm inviting 100 books to make a long story short.
No, that's awesome. That's key, right, Cal?
100, like over that span up until the end of November there, it's exactly, it all played out like you said. And yeah, if you look at people who are on Facebook and they don't even have 100 friends, are like, well, I know how this is gonna go, like, but it's okay. It's just part of the numbers and it's fine, but you still pick up people from these things. Like I had one party where that's like one order, that's it. But now she's turned into, she's going to book in the future. She wants to book in person in February. So I'm like, fine, we'll do that because your kid goes to our school and I know who you are and let's do this, right? Like she's a potential recruit as well. You got it. So there's always something good out of every party.
Exactly.
And, those numbers don't lie. I mean, one of my parties was a surprise because she wanted to invite people from the States because she's from New Jersey. And so I had to find a US director who could help them. And I did through Sherry Lynn. So we had a cross-border beauty bash. And it was super fun. And so that director down there, she got a new client to work with and we learned and it was really fun. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. So that's one way you can share love. And she loved the method because she didn't know how to do virtuals. And so she got to learn a new way of doing things. And I think she learned how to put the ideas into her Post My Party because I use Bizly and so she learned something new and it was fun.
Nice. Awesome.
I have one more question. The last one is, when you're finished your parties or whatever, typically we tend to ask ourselves, what went well and what do I need to improve on? Do you have any like aha moments of that kind of like, wow, I need to shift that one? Do you have any kind of a funny story or anything that you thought that you actually made a difference in your business because you shifted this one way you do things besides your scheduling?
Um, I've tweaked it like in little ways over the years. I feel like where I'm at right now, because I've done so many of them for years, I need to switch it up for my own energy because I'm bored of it. You know, it's the same thing over and over and over, which I feel like is a great tool for success. But for my excitement and energy, I need to do something. And so I've been thinking lately that I want to redo my beauty bash. And this may or may not work. Like I have to try it and do just skincare. Because I started following this lady on TikTok. I don't even know her name. She just pops up on my For You page. And she's just brilliant when it comes to ingredients and education. And so I thought, you know what? I need to do an education series in my customer group, just talking about matching an ingredient to a skincare outcome. Because I mean, I read like crazy amounts of information just to understand our product. And sometimes my head is even spinning to be like, okay, what do I recommend for this and that and everything else? So, you know, our customers are looking and going, okay, there's 4 boosters, there's 4 cleansers, there's 10 moisturizers, you know, all these things like how, and I know it's our job to help pair it up, but not a lot of people are going to come and be like, hey, can you pair this up? Like some people will look at it, feel so overwhelmed and go, I don't even know where to begin, right? So I'm going to start this education series within the next couple of days, talking about here's what you do if you're struggling with dull skin. Here's what you do if you're struggling with dry flakes. Here's what you do if you're struggling with under eye, and talk about glycolic acid. This is the product you can find it in. This is how you're going to target. And once you have those videos made, you could build that into, and that excites me because I really do love skincare and I love understanding it and the science behind it. But most people out there, you know, if you say niacinamide, they're like, what? Like what, you know, but in the same breath, consumers are getting more educated and they want to be more educated. It just feels overwhelming to where do you begin? So that's my like, that's where I'm going in the next little while with my virtual plan. I don't know. Did that even answer your question? Yeah.
Totally. That was fantastic. Sarah, you did such a great job. Love it.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, girls, it's probably, you're probably heading to work, hey, Kelly?
Yeah, getting ready for that. And
okay,
it's like minus something stupid here. So the buses aren't running. And so so the girls didn't have to be at school on time. So they'll come with me for the half day that I'm working and come home again. And yeah, so just roll with it.
yeah. Okay. Well, you know, like I said, if you have a little question, if there's any, like, just sometimes it's just filling in little gaps, just shoot me a message anytime.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Because I know that your time is like your protected space, and I want to be very respectful of you.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that, but you're not an inconvenience, okay? I didn't mean it that way. I mean, when it comes to a scheduled thing where I have to be present, you can send me a message at 2 o'clock in the morning if you want. Like, I mean, anytime, because with the time difference, like a lot of times I'll get up and I'll answer them while I'm having breakfast. Like virtual is my lifeline because I can do it when I have time. So I'll answer you properly now. It's just the scheduling of things. I only want to do it between this window now. So I'm going to try to stick to my guns on that.
I get it, because I feel angst if there's like too many things happening.
Yeah.
Like I can't be in all the places either. So
exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
Well, have an
Sarah?
awesome day.
You too.
I was just going to say thank you so much for your time and everything that you've poured into so many. We can't even tell you how much we appreciate this. So you are the best. We love you and thank you so much.
You're
Do you have an
welcome
iPhone?
anytime. I feel it.
There you go.
Oh, that's cute. All right. Have a good day, you guys, and
You
we'll
too.
talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Hi.